In this flight we're going to be taking a US Army Chinook on operations around North Carolina. We're going to be starting at the Simmons Army Air Base and doing a very short hop from there over to Pope. When we get to Pope we're going to pick up some troops. From there we'll be flying into the Fort Bragg training area where we'll go and drop the troops so that they can go and conduct exercises, and then we'll continue across Fort Bragg to one of the landing zones in Fort Bragg where there is a Black Hawk helicopter that has previously had some servicing issues and needs to be collected and taken from there down to Mackall Army Air Force Base, where it can be given to some engineers to go and repair. So we'll be taking the helicopter across that route here, and then once we've dropped the helicopter off we're then going to just follow a route round south underneath Fayetteville, back up through the east side of Fayetteville and just to the northeast of Simmons, and then back into the base again. So most of that, depending on conditions and whatever, if possible, we'll be doing out, pick up the troops, drop the troops off, go and pick up the helicopter that needs rescuing, take that over to Mackall to be serviced, and then probably for the rest of the route we'll be looking to do low level operations. So it's a multi task routing, just doing 2 bits of operations through here and then a bit of low level training for the route back. Okay, so here we are on board the Chinook in the cockpit, cold and dark, everything currently turned off. We're going to get this aircraft off the ground in shortly, so let's fire up the tablet that we have on here. We're going to use this a couple of places along the way to do things like set the ramp positions and also to be able to go up and pick up various loadings that we want inside the helicopter or external to the helicopter as well. So in the helicopter itself we need to get the battery powered on, so I'm going to, again as I do usually, go to my controller first of all and start firing on all the switches in there. We've got some stuff on, so that's now powered the battery up on there, and we can now see that we have actually got some power inside the helicopter. Next thing I'm going to want to go and do is I'm going to go and power up the APU so we can start getting some proper power through the helicopter. Just before I do that we're just going to go and put some lights on. So we go up to here and I'm going to set some position lights on. Hopefully that should give some lights outside so we can see we have got some lights around the helicopter now, just to warn the ground crew that we are actually going to go and start up. So let's get the APU fired up. So APU into on and APU into start. So there's the APU up and running. So if we start going through some of the systems, we want to put the transfer on for the hydraulics while the APU is running. That can stay on both for now. We should have the APU generator, so we'll put the backup power on and we'll put the APU generator on. So the generator is now running from the APU, so that should allow us to go and start up the engines pretty shortly. So as we go in and start the engines up, I'm going to go and put all of the fuel pumps on. I will put the cross feed on. And that should just about do us for what we need at this point. Fadeout units are on, so that's good. overspeed, we don't need to worry about. Everything else should be set as we need. So with that done, I can now put engine 1 into ground. And as we put engine 1 into ground, we can now see that we've started to get a little bit of rotation onto the propellers. So I'm gonna fire the starter up for engine 1. So waiting for engine 1 to come alive. So engine 1 is now alive. So we should be able to turn the starter off. And engine 1 should hopefully keep running at this point, which it appears to be doing. So we're now going to put engine 2 into ground and start engine 2. So again, we'll wait for engine 2 to come alive. And there we go, engine 2 is now coming alive, so we should be able to turn off the starter. And both engines are stabilised and running, which is good. So at this point we're going to put some more lights on. Let's get the helicopter lit up, so we've got some anti-collision lights. The top anti-collision lights can go on as well. We're going to open up the beep systems, so let's open up both fans and both doors. I'm going to change our system over to running on both settings that we want in here. We can now put the generators on from the engines, turn the cross feed off for the hydraulics, the hydraulic transfer off, sorry. We should have done a troop warning, but we've got no troops on board at this point, hence the reason why we didn't do the troop warning, to let them know we were going to start the engine up. So let's get our transponder fired up. That's our transponder on. Start getting some of these power switches on for all of our controls. Okay, so most of our systems are now set. We want to get the barometer reset for the current air pressure, which we have just done, so that's good. A bit more cloud than we anticipated, to be honest, according to the forecast. We can now turn the APU off, we don't need that anymore, so let's turn the APU generator off. And let's turn the APU off. APU is off. Put the engines onto flight mode. So have a quick look outside. Now we are all ready to go. So a couple of last things we just need to go and do now. I'm just going to put the engine torque limiters on. So that's the engine torque limiters set. Make sure we can't over torque the engines. And then we want to start to go to air traffic control and get clearance.
Simmons ground.
We're going to sort of go to the north.
Lifter 11 taxi to and hold short at runway 9er via taxiway. Contact tower on 125.9er when ready.
Taxi to and hold short runway 9er.
Acknowledge our taxi clearance. So we've got a map down here that we're using. We've also got a map on here as well that we can use if we need to. We'll cross-reference both sources at times. So we've got permission to go and taxi. So the next thing we want to do is we want to actually turn the power steering on the wheels. So they're currently locked, or were locked. We've now turned that off, so we can now steer with the wheels and turn the parking brake off. Put a bit of power in and let's move. So we're going to be on runway 9 today. So runway 9 should be ahead and towards the left a little bit. Put ourselves onto a tuning for the tower, and hopefully we can go straight out from here. When we're in a helicopter, we don't need the full runway, so that's not a problem for us. So there's our takeoff clearance.
Tower lifter 11 ready at runway 9er.
Let's make a request.
Lifter 11 wind 029er at 4. North departure approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 9er.
Cleared for takeoff.
Acknowledge our takeoff clearance and let's get out of here. So a quick check on the runways, make sure it's definitely clear in all directions, which it is. Just watching that wind socket. It looks like almost like a crosswind, to be honest with you, more than a direct wind down the runway, so we just need to be aware of that on takeoff. Let's get ourselves lined up on the runway. I'm now going to lock the steering. Steering is locked. And let's get some power in. And we should find that we start to lift quite easily at this point. Well, here we go, we're up. Okay, so we're going to want to head over towards Pope, so just be aware we've got the tree line in front of us. And we've also got some, as you can see, some power cables in front of us over there as well. Like there might be a spot or two of rain just landing on the windshield, so we've got just a few spots of rain to be aware of. So there's the tower over at Pope. Let's acknowledge the fact that we're leaving Simmons. Well, we're going to want to pick these troops up fairly quickly, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to start to drop the ramp down at the back and also open the top up as well. Have the extraction, so there we are, we're already getting ready to get the troops on board once we come down towards Pope. Just keep an eye out for other air traffic in the vicinity. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually tune in to Pope now. Tune into the tower. Just so we can listen into any communications if there's other aircraft in the vicinity. So we're just going to come and land just past the tower here. Let's go and pick the troops up that we want. So we're going to start and descend ourselves down into this area just by the tower. I'm going to leave the brakes on, leave the steering lock on the wheels, because we're just going to drop straight in and straight out. Just watch our rate of descent. Bring ourselves in, slow that descent down just a little bit. A little bit more, and then we should start to get into the downdraft, which means we'll just be almost in a hover at this point. And let's just very gently bring this down for a landing. And there we are, we're down. So brakes on, put the parking brake on, and then we're going to finish dropping the ramp down and put the slides down so the troops can get on board. Okay, with everything set in there, we're going to sit here just for a minute pretending the troops are getting on board. Obviously there is no real movement of troops around us. We'll go into our loading. So internally we're going to say yes, we want some troops. And voila, if we go back outside, we can now just about see there's some troops in there. And again, from the cockpit, if I turn around, whoops, we can hopefully see some troops. Cool. So everybody's on board. With the door, we're going to leave the door mainly open for this run up to where we want to go. So I'm going to drop the slide, drop the ramp back into the level position, and we're going to fly in this configuration. Actually, no, we'll make it a bit more convenient for them. We'll just close the ramp up, but we'll leave the top part open. And once that's closed, we're good. We're going to go and fly. So parking brake off. Let's get some power on. And up we go. And we're now going to fly out to the west. So again, just keep an eye on the runway and any traffic that might be coming in. We don't want to interfere with other operations here at Pope. So nose down, pick some speed up, and away we go. So we're just going to avoid the end of the runway here. We don't want to go across any other traffic. We can now see it's clear. There was no other communications from Pope to warn of any traffic taking off or whatever, so we should be okay to head back onto the sort of course we want to go to now. Heading roughly in the direction to where we need to go and drop the troops at their landing zone at Bragg. See a radio mast in front of us, need to be aware of that so that we don't have any incidents. There's one of the landing zones at Bragg. That's not the one we're going to. Need to be aware as well while we're flying around here. Keep an eye out for any other traffic that may be around. Could be other helicopters or aircraft on manoeuvres across the training area, so we just need to keep an eye out for those. Yeah, weather's closing in more than it said it was. It did look like the weather was going to be okay and just a bit of light cloud. It's actually turning into a few bits of rain flying around. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that, especially for the last part of the operation today, where we intended doing some low-level flying. And so just in front of us here is the landing zone where we wanted to go and drop these troops down. So I'm going to drop the speed off. I'll set them down just between these trees just down here. There we are down, parking brake on. Let's drop the ramp. And then we can wait for the troops to get off. So let's just go and remove those troops. So we have no troops in the back at the moment. Everybody's out. We're going to put the ramp back to a level status now and bring the slide in. The reason why we're leaving that level from this point onwards is we're going to be going in and picking up the Black Hawk as our next operation, and so therefore we'd normally have loadmasters who could keep an eye on what's an actual loading up for the Black Hawk, and they would quite often go and sit out on the ramp. So we're all good, troops are clear, brakes are off, let's go. So the Black Hawk that we want to pick up should be somewhere in this sort of direction, a little bit further over on one of the landing areas. So there is another landing zone just here that we're going to cross over. Again, just keep an eye on the traffic situation, make sure there's nobody else around. So we're starting to approach the area where the Black Hawk's going to be. I'm going to open up a central compartment inside the helicopter. I'll try and show you what it is. So there's a hook or space in the centre where the loadmasters can go and look out of. So let's go to quick view number 7, and that's looking through the bottom of the helicopter now through an opening And that allows the loadmasters to look out and see what they need to go and do, or where we need to be to go and actually hook up any cargo that we've got to go and collect. So the helicopter we're going to want to go and pick up is over in this area somewhere. So let's go and look at our loadings. We're just going to want to slow ourselves right down now. So let's pitch the helicopter back to slow down. And somewhere around here there'll be a Black Hawk that we need to go and collect. Now obviously I don't have that just yet, I need to go and configure that inside the game. But to go and pick a Black Hawk up, we're going to need to have the mid-hook set. So I'll set ourselves into the mid-hook position, go to external loads, and there's a UH-60. So it says hook middle, which we're good with because we've done that. And somewhere around here now there should be a helicopter. So let's just go into an external view for a moment. Oh, I can see it's just behind us actually. So if we look down there, there's the Black Hawk that we've got to go and collect. And we can also use this screen on here to tell us where we need to be. This basically simulates what you get in real life with having a loadmaster telling us where we need to go and position the helicopter. So we're going to put a little bit more throttle in so we don't start sinking too much. And I'm going to go backwards and then also bring us over a little bit sideways. And our height needs to be around sort of 15 to 40 feet. So as you can see, we're getting towards the ballpark of where we need to be. So we're now very close to where we want to be. We just need to keep reducing height a little bit further back, and to the right. Okay, so we now have a helicopter hooked underneath us. We're just going to lift up very, very slowly. When we start to take the strain out of the cables, we'll start to struggle to lift. And there we have a Black Hawk helicopter underneath. So now we have to fly quite gently with this hooked up, otherwise we'll lose it. So nice gentle movements, and keep a very close eye on the speed.
Diamond 840, wind 033 at 6. Clear to land runway 5. Clear to land runway 5, Diamond 840.
I'm going to need to slow down a little bit, otherwise we're going to lose the load. yeah, with a load hooked, it's all about being smooth, very steady movements.
Diamond 840 exit runway when able.
I'm going to tune another tower in, some Mackall. It's going to be where we're going to be dropping this Black Hawk. So I've just got the tower tuned in for Mackall. One of the more difficult bits for us as we come over towards Mackall is going to be able to reduce our speed. So at our previous 2 landing zones, we just basically threw the helicopter onto its back almost and dragged speed off really quickly. We can't do that with a load attached, obviously, so we are going to have to start and reduce speed quite early to get ourselves into a suitable configuration to go and drop this Black Hawk off. I believe on the far end of the airfield there is some hangars, almost like a bit of a maintenance facility, so that's where we're going to go and drop this Black Hawk. I'm going to start and pitch the nose up a little bit now. Let's get this speed off. Throttles down a little. And keep a very close eye out for other traffic. So that's where we want to be going to drop the Black Hawk, over here near these buildings. Again, just keep an eye on these runways, make sure there's no cross traffic we need to worry about, which there isn't. And we can now start to go in towards the maintenance facility over here and drop this Black Hawk down. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and drop it onto this pad over here. we're going to need to be slightly forwards of the pad. And then across somewhat. Well, this is just going to be guesswork because obviously I can't see where it is. Been released. Well, we're a little bit further forwards than I would have liked, but that's not bad considering. I'll take that. At least it's landed. We've got rid of it. We didn't lose it on the way. That's all good. So what we're going to do now is going to go into the doors. We're going to close everything up. Oh, I'm going to need to reset the hooks before I can close this. Okay. Drop the nose down and let's go. So if I run back, we are literally going to follow a series of waypoints and fly generally low altitude. The weather's cleared. That bit of a front is behind us, which is good. Watch the speed a little bit. The main thing now is just going to be watching for slight rises in the land, as you can see there. There's a land just picks up a little bit, and keeping an eye out for power lines and other obstructions like that that we may fly into if we're not careful. our route should keep us away from the most densely populated areas. So hopefully we won't upset or disturb too many people with our low flying, but inevitably it is par for the course. There's going to be one or two people like these people here who aren't going to be too happy. Obviously, being around a military installation as this is, then most of these folks should be pretty used to troop manoeuvres and combat exercises in the area. So I can see some power lines off to our left hand side, and they'll be crossing in front of us shortly. So we just need to keep an eye on those, make sure we get over the top of them without any issues. The thing to note with these power lines here as well, there is actually several sets that we're coming across, so we just have to be mindful of the fact that it's not just a case of getting over the first batch and then being able to dip back down again. We need to clear all of them. So here's the first line, which we are over, and then there's another couple of sets just in front of us here that are fairly well hidden by the trees actually, so we just need to be aware of the fact they're there. They are marked on our map, so I know to be careful of them. There we are with some more of the pylons, and now we should be able to get down to some low level flying again. Make sure the blades are above the top of the trees here. Yes, they are. There's another set of power lines in front of us that we need to be aware of. There they are. And safely over those. being aware of the radio masts that are around as well. It's far enough off to the side of us, it's not an issue even for the support lines off it. Again, another radio mast in front of us. It is actually marked on the map as well, so we've got an idea it's there. And we're actually supposed to be going between these radio masts. If we look on the map, we actually make our way between them. There should be 3 in total. So there's one smaller one there, and these 2 big ones, and we should be in between. We should be going between them. So let's do that. Again, I can see a radio mast in front of us in the distance, so there's something to be aware of. Oh, power lines. Okay, so we're almost at our next waypoint. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is, rather than following the straight lines of the route that we'd originally got planned in here, I'm actually going to come down here and let's go and follow this waterway, shall we? You can also see an aircraft in front of us, some distance away there, and I think it's much higher than we are, so not a threat, but we'll keep an eye on its movements just in case. Well, there's another aircraft there as well, so that'll be a couple of the aircraft from the municipal airport, I would have thought. But again, bearing in mind how many military installations and all of the training areas around here, it could be military. Or either of them could be military. So. Okay, so we've got power lines in front that we're going to need to cross. We'll come over the top of the waterway. Let's get a bit of altitude up and get over the top of these. And there we go, over the top. There's some more just in front as well. Get ourselves up and over the top of these. There we go. And straight back down again. And this is where we're going to bug out of here now and head back to the next waypoint that we had originally planned. Okay, just this side of this mast, there's another one over there, so we'll stay to this side of the masts and head in this rough direction back over towards our next waypoint. Okay, that looks like we may have some more power lines down here. I can see something. No, maybe it's not power lines. Maybe it is. No, it is power lines. There we are, right in front of us. Let's just hook over the top of those. There we go. So as we approach our next waypoint over here, which is actually across part of the road, I'm going to get some altitude up in a second because I'm going to perform what is definitely more of an airshow manoeuvre than a standard combat manoeuvre, but it will demonstrate the versatility of this helicopter. So our waypoint is just on this bend up here, but then we want to be heading over in that direction by the time we've finished. And give it some proper throttle. And away we go. What I'll do is I'll actually go outside and show that same manoeuvre off again, because it doesn't actually show that well from obviously inside the helicopter. We'll just have to change direction afterwards to go to where we want to go. So let's go to an external view. Going to gain a little bit of altitude and a bit of power. This is quite much more difficult to pull off from outside, to be honest with you, so I want a bit of extra altitude just to make sure I'm safe. Well then, let's go. Up we go. And into a corkscrew and out. And let's continue back in our original mode of low flying. Power lines there. They're actually the more difficult ones to spot if you're low enough down. The main power lines, obviously the pylons stand out a little bit, but the local smaller power lines, if you're at a particularly low level, they can be a real threat to the helicopter because they are very difficult to see. And I can see power lines just in front of us. And again, with being so low level, these are quite well hidden by the trees. And here we go, just in front of us here, look. There we are. So we cross over the top of those. And I can see, I'm not sure whether it's power lines or transmitter to transmitter in front of us. So I'll go just down the side of that. And I can see some more local power lines down there, so I'm not quite sure which direction to take. Here they are. I can see them now, just in front of us, across this field. And there's another another line of high voltage cables in front of us as well, that I can see. And another transmitter to be aware of. Okay, so here's the cables. Slight lift and over we go. So the airbase that we want to go back to is over there. But we're going to go up to a waypoint here and then turn back on ourselves a little bit. But we'll start to tune the tower in. There's Simmons. The tower is tuned. And I can see another transmitter tower in front of us. Some very large facility. I assume it's a distribution warehouse or something like that. I don't know, to be honest. And so what we're going to do this time is we're just going to spin around in the air to go back in the direction we want to go in, towards Simmons. So we actually want to go that way somewhere. So let's just go. And spin ourselves back in the direction we want to go into. And away we go.
Cessna 05 Juliet, turn next taxiway. Cessna 05 Juliet, contact ground on 121.9er.
So I assume we took off on runway 9. We may not be on 9 because it was quite a what looked like a almost level crosswind. So I'm not sure which runway we're going to use, but we can. Here there is a aircraft just taken off the towers, just given departure clearance to and handed them over to departure. So there should be another aircraft in the vicinity we need to be aware of. But let's contact the tower and get our clearance.
Simmons Tower Lifter 11 3 miles northeast 700 feet to land.
Lifter 11 Simmons Tower. QNH 29er 3 wind 009er at 6. Enter left downwind runway 9er.
So we're going to be landing on runway 9. On a left downwind, so we're in the right location to come in. We just have to be careful. Remember when we took off, we know there are electricity pylons just beyond the airport, so we're just gonna make sure we go to the top of those. You can see them just in front of us at the moment.
Lifter 11, did you hear my last transmission?
Yeah, that's naughty of me. I should have actually responded to them, so yes,
Traffic runway
we
9.
did hear your transmission. That's the start of runway 9, and we're already coming on left traffic. Hopefully we'll get a clearance to come pretty much straight in.
Lifter 11 wind 009er at 6. Cleared to land runway 9er.
Cleared
That's
to
our
land
clearance.
Lifter 11.
I'm going to bring us in for a slightly unconventional approach. I'm going to want the nose wheel steering on for this. Nose wheel steering is on. And there we go. Because we have to taxi, and I don't necessarily want us on the runway for most of the taxi, so we are just actually going to hover taxi all the way down, almost all the way down to the end of the runway, and then at the end of the runway we can just set ourselves down, ready to go straight off onto the taxiway. And there's actually a helicopter over there. It's nice to see. I usually see helicopters parked up in the game, unless somebody's actually put it in as part of the scenery, but that's not the case. I do believe that is just a helicopter in that we need. And let's just put it down.
Lifter 11 turn next taxiway.
And let's go back to parking.
121.
Acknowledge our ground handoff.
Goodbye. Simmons ground lifter 11 taxi to parking.
Lifter 11 taxi to general aviation parking using taxiway Bravo.
Taxiing to general aviation parking using taxiway Bravo lifter 11.
So again, what we're going to want to do now is start up the APU ready for when we want it. And it looks like we're going to be parking just here, which is fine by me because it's less taxiing around. And there we go, parking brakes on, everything set. Let's put these engines, put the APU generator switch on. Engine generator switch is off, hydraulic cross feeds on, and let's put these into ground. And with the APU running, we should be able to just shut everything down. Right, engines down. Turn the EEPS settings off, cross speed off. Fuel supply is off. Keep the engine, the lights on for a moment. But we can turn our transponder off. And we can start turning most of our radio units off. Steering we can set back to locked. I'm going to turn most of our lights off now. there we are all set. So at this point we can turn all of our panels off that we don't want. Let's turn the EFB off, and then let's finish off by shutting the aircraft down now. So we're going to turn the APU generator off. Let's turn the APU off. And we'll turn the avionics off, and let's turn the battery off. And there we are cold and dark. Aircraft is shut down. Thank you for joining me on today's flight, and I'll see you on the next one.